Hello everyone, welcome to this week's Gran Turismo 7 Daily Race, Race and Strategy Guide from Brands Hatch Grand Prix Circuit in the Group 3 machinery. Now we are coming to you a little bit later on in the day than usual. I had a little bit of a family situation going on, which meant I wasn't around this morning, but everything is good, all is well. But I know some of you are probably a little bit worried because I've been doing this for 3.5 years now and we very rarely miss a week. And usually when I do, people are asking if everything is okay. Everything is okay folks, nothing to worry about whatsoever. But we've got 13 laps to get around, time it at times 6, fuel at times 2, just the racing medium tyres as selection, mandatory pit stop in this one, BOP is on, it's a low speed BOP for info, damages lights, a rolling start, slipstream is real, and for your settings there's quite a lot which will please and displease people in equal measures. We've got the brake balance, we've got the suspension, and we've got the limited slip differential. So the first thing I tested on this one is the difference between not changing the tyres and changing the tyres. So your no tyre change stop duration is going to come in at a very short 1.5 seconds. Do be very careful, you have to make your selection very quickly in Brands Hatch. The moment the kind of car goes into the pit lane, you're kind of faced with the decision whether you want to change the tyres or not. So 1.5 seconds to not change the tyres. If you do change the tyres, how much additional time are you losing? And we are stationary for 4 seconds, so only 2.5 seconds to change the tyres. And definitely makes me think the tyre change is going to be the way to go. As ever with Brands Hatch though, be very careful on the pit entry and on the pit exit. It's an easy one to pick up a 3-second penalty on. So into the race action we're going to go here. I think this was the 3 o'clock race in the afternoon. It was pretty stacked, to be honest with you. Lots of very fast drivers in front of me. So starting down here in P16, I was going to be very happy with a top 10 if we could somehow force that matter. And we are in the Peugeot RCZ. We don't go for the best start here because we put a wee wheel on the grass. It's going to throw the back end of the car out as you would expect, and we're going to lose the back of the pack. However, it didn't go quite as badly for the Austrian driver. It didn't go quite as badly for me. It's going to go for the Austrian driver just in front of us as they end up in the barrier. Lose about 4 seconds. I think they actually quit the race as well. So Brands Hatch already starting to claim victims. It's no wonder a lot of people call this track Brutal Brands. It certainly lives up to its reputation often enough. So yeah, we're in the RCZ here. Now, if you remember back to Gran Turismo launch period, or certainly as sport mode launched on Gran Turismo 7, we did a race around Brands Hatch back in the days of the good tyre wear model and 20 cars on the grid. Although you might be fair to say that the car handling was a little bit sketchy, but one car that didn't handle sketchy back then was the Peugeot RCZ. It absolutely dominated around here back on that week when we did Brands Hatch in Group 3. So one driver has pitted, which has given us one position up, and another driver there has clipped the grass into turn 1, which means we're up into P13. So having started in P16, we're making a little bit of progress. Brands Hatch has claimed another victim there, Fatban. Back playing the game. I've not seen Fatban for a wee while. Used to see him on the grid on a regular basis, but they're back playing and they've ended up in the wall in their Mercedes. And then we kind of just seen that GTR going a little bit wide and sort of followed them off. Now thankfully we didn't lose a massive amount of time, but dirty tyres around Brands Hatch is definitely not something that you want. Now the German behind us is the McLaren. We've seen pitting at the end of lap 1, so they've clearly not going. They're clearly going for the non-tyre change strategy, and unfortunately that's going to let them close the gap down to me quite significantly, down to 2.6 seconds. And as we go forward here to lap 5, that gap is now down to 1.2. Brands Hatch though, they're claiming another victim, the Spaniard in the Porsche, losing it out of the hairpin. That moves us up into the top 10 before we make our pit stop. Now that McLaren was catching me. I was kind of just still learning the track a little bit. I decided I didn't really want to get into a fight with them, so we're going to pit here at the end of lap 5, just getting the car into the pit lane without picking up a 3-second penalty. And we are going to change the tyres. Just looking at that rear left tyre, I was thinking, yeah, in an MR car, I don't really fancy dealing with imbalanced tyres towards the end of the race. So changing the tyres at 2.5 seconds, I think the time loss is worth it. Overall though, Brands Hatch has a very short pit lane loss. It's a bit like when GT Sport had short pit lane losses, so you need to take that into account. It's 11 seconds if you change the tyres, it's 8.5 seconds if you don't. Fuel is no issue whatsoever, and that was pretty much the end of my race. We came out of the pits in P11 We just about caught up to the McLaren that did the no tyre change towards the end of the race. If we hadn't lost that 2.5 seconds for going off the track, it would have been a very close run between ourselves and the McLaren. But yeah, just not quite getting up there, and we're going to finish this one in P11. But just going back to that pit stop, do bear it in mind if you're starting at the front of the grid and you do decide to go for the no tyre change strategy. You know, the grid is only spread out by what, 7.5 seconds at the start of the race. You go in to the pits from maybe the first 2-3 positions, you lose 8.5 seconds, you're right into the mire. So just, I would recommend not doing that strategy if you're starting towards the front. But yeah, and that is the reason why. But 18 minutes 13 seconds for the winner to finish this one. We are 27 seconds off the lead. Definitely scope for an additional lap in there, I'm sure you will agree. An additional lap would probably have taken no tyre change strategy option off the table. Good thing, bad thing, well, you could look at it both ways, I guess. But yeah, for me, this one is a tyre change. Brands Hatch has got a lot of tricky corners. You want to have the tyre performance. If you don't change the tyres, you're going to run the tyres down to about 25% tyre wear, which means you're going to start losing some time. You know my theory on the tyre wear: as long as you can keep it above 50%, you don't lose significant time on a lap per lap basis. But once you go below that 50%, you start to lose about 3 to 4 tenths a lap, and it can just start to get worse as you get into that 70-75% bracket, which a lot of people will go into if they don't change the tyres. So for the 2.5 seconds additional in the pits, I think it's definitely worth changing the tyres. That's not to say there isn't situations where not changing the tyres might not work out for you. For example, let's say I go into a race, starting at the back, the race is dead, I'm up against a lot of A drivers, then not changing the tyres to gain that 2.5 seconds and gain track position may very well be worth it. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this one. I never really get that excited about Brands Hatch, to be honest with you, but then when I race it, I do actually start to enjoy it. So I'll be live streaming this one at some point over the course of the week. But yeah, I appreciate you watching. I know it's a little bit later than usual, but you know, life comes first before YouTube, as I always tell people in the streams and in the chats as well. But I appreciate you watching. Catch you on the next one. Goodbye now.